Hello, everyone. Um, my name is Lyrata. I welcome you to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings um, and Self-Mastery through Ageless Wisdom Teachings. And I am here in, what do you call it, response and in honor of the work that is done by the Institute for Global Transformation, which is a fantastic nonprofit organization that is simply 100% devoted to the evolution of humanity in the new and coming ways, okay? Um, and the old ways as well, kind of synthesizing both. In any case, I welcome all of you. Today we are going to be talking about, if you remember, a month ago we were talking about the 7 divine laws. And we had broken them down into the 7 basic seed thoughts for each of the divine laws. And today we're going to be focusing on the first of those seed thoughts and breaking it down into its components so that we really understand it as best as possible and utilize these teachings to move us from an emotional polarization into a mental polarization. This particular lesson begins a process of understanding the scaffolding needed in order for us to move into a mental polarization. So we're looking at these seed thoughts. We were talking about the 7 divine laws and energies of cosmic love as they are worked out into manifestation. And we said that these 7 divine laws really are aspects of the building blocks of the universe. Whereas last month, we began talking about the 7 divine laws, and we broke each one of those laws into 7 seed thoughts, the first of which is, I'm showing you now, the law of the focused will to love, which states, in effect, that the power of God may be invoked into manifestation via the focused will to love. That's what we're going to be talking about today, the focused will to love. And each day we will continue with one of those seed thoughts and break them down into its components, its qualities, its characteristics, and to be able to apply it to our lives so that we understand how to utilize it. So going back, what the 7 divine laws are aspects of God. We said God is sevenfold, and that they are aspects of what are known as the 7 rays, which we'll talk about at a later point. But they're also basically the building blocks of the universe, okay? In many different dimensions, I might add, okay? We can speak about it in one dimension. We can speak about it in another dimension. We can apply it to planetary aspects of our world. We can apply it to the mental, astral. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's really quite in depth. We can apply it to what are now the 5 kingdoms, which I've shared with you before, really 7 kingdoms, but 2 are yet not in outward manifestation. So we will be talking, as I said today, about power of God may be invoked into manifestation via the focused will to love. Okay? And we said last time that these are aspects of the divine. They are in everything on all different levels. And each one, as we are looking at it today, we're looking at it from the standpoint of what is the impact of this particular energy on will, because it's divine will we're talking about. What are the effects of divine will on our little will, meaning humanity's little will? Okay? And how do we align our will with divine will? How do we make sure that if in fact we're aspiring to connect with the one, to, and we realize that we are all a part of the one, and we are moving in more concerted ways as humanity to bring spirit into matter, no longer feeling that we have to aspire and transcend, which was part of the last stage, but realizing that now in this period of time, it's about encompassing and embodying the oneness that we are, okay, with the divine. There's no separation. There was a lot of separation in that last age. In this age, not as much. So the focused will to love is a law. It's a law and an energy which reaches humanity from our solar system, from our solar logos, from the sun itself. The sun sends out vital life energy, prana, divine love, which is received by this planet and is dispersed into every aspect of this planet. If you go back with me, you'll remember that I've said this planet is a third ray planet within a second ray solar system and within a second ray cosmos. Second ray, we said, was about love, wisdom. Third ray is about diversity, divine intelligence, matter, substance, mother. So one of our planet's duties is to be able to create diversity. And within that diversity, harmony. And by our history, our history would actually indicate that we've kind of gotten that all wrong, would it not? Right? We seem to be completely floored by diversity, when diversity is the divine's way of expression. How boring would it be that the divine could only express itself in one way? So diversity is the key synthesis to be able to bring everything together in all of its many forms, to hold that level of respect and understanding and bonding. So diversity through love, the divine focused will to love, is part of what this planet is all about. And that first initial energy that comes through is the power of God may be invoked into manifestation via the focused will to love. Okay? That brings the divine through in a powerful way. So when we can accept each other as brothers and sisters, as animals and plants, as minerals, when we can love all of what this planet is about and do our best to be stewards and guardians of everything, that's not only the will to love, but it's right use of the power of will that we each have. Anything other than that is an abuse of that power, a misuse of that power. And what happens is the law of cause and effect teaches us what we haven't gotten right. Okay? It teaches us what it is we need to know. We learn through our experiences, period. Okay? At some point in time, we might think that these experiences that we are having are scattered, not connected to each other, have nothing even to do with us. But the wise one who begins to understand and wants to walk the path begins to realize, I can connect dots. There are patterns in these lessons that I've been experiencing. There's something for me to learn here. Yes, this energy comes through our solar life, or the solar logos, as it's known. The solar logos meaning that being, that planetary being that it lives through, that being that lives through that planetary energy. Okay, in this case, the sun, which is not a planet. It's a, it's a light. But also there's a planetary logos, that being, that consciousness within the planet that inhabits this planet that we can connect with. Okay, same thing, solar logos. Each planet has a consciousness. It's a being in and of itself that has many different aspects to it. So let's go back. So this power comes from through the divine, and it allows us to utilize will, the energy of will. And we think we have, and we do, we have free will to a certain extent as to how we utilize the divine energy. We have a certain level of freedom, free will. But by the same token, we do not. Karma will indicate, it gives us the parameters. It teaches us how to, when not to, if to, and why when that was not important, or not only important, necessary to do, or there are higher levels of ways of handling things. And we'll talk about this before the end of this session, because I had two amazing experiences this week that speak directly to this particular lesson. So we are, as humanity, we are learning to move our consciousness or move our awareness from an emotional polarity to a mental polarity. How is that done? This lesson will teach us that. It'll give us practical lessons or steps in how to move into that center, which we have been using in our meditations, by the way, already, that ajna center, 3 to 6 inches beyond the forehead. That is our seat for building mental polarization. Okay? When we can move our consciousness there, and Dylan says, I feel a communication between minerals and material and minerals. I would definitely call it a conscious, such as the use of metals like lead in building and in writing. Absolutely. Everything has a consciousness, Dylan. Everything. Your car has a consciousness. Okay? Everything has a consciousness. Plants. I mean, we planted mistakenly, I'm going to say. There's supposed to not be mistakes, but I'm not quite sure about this one. We planted a Chinese a blue Chinese wisteria in our garden on the grounds. was shown through a nursery, absolutely gorgeous, separate, standing on its own, beautiful, bearing beautiful fruit. The flowers absolutely gorgeous in the spring and getting toward June, July. And our landscaper told us, this is an invasive species. But I had fallen in love. We both had fallen in love with the picture. My housemate and I both had fallen in love with the photo we saw online, and thought, well, let's see, let's give it a try. Well, it's about now. It's not quite a year, maybe 9 months of it being. It's growing tremendously, but it is truly invasive. It shoots out these its tentacles, it's these vines, and it will climb over anything and everything, including trees. It can take over a whole tree. You've seen it already. I know everyone has seen it. It's beautiful though. But anyway, now we're second guessing. We're thinking that maybe it's not the best thing to have it there unless we're constantly pruning it, which will take vigilance. And we're not quite sure we're ready for that effort to constantly prune it. So, yes, but it has a consciousness. All we do, and my housemate is really good at this, we'll go up to this plant and tell it, you can't go there because we found it wrapping itself around one of our bushes. No, 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 you can't do that. Okay. And she unwrapped it very gingerly. And a week later, we find that it is no longer touching that bush, that little small evergreen. It's not touching it at all. It's veered a totally a different way. Not because she put it there, simply because she unwound it and she spoke with it tenderly. They understand. They really do. It's amazing. Everything has consciousness. So, okay.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll try that if I come across a similar situation.
Talk to anything, Dylan. Bottom line, just talk to anything. I mean, I talk to the trees, I talk to the plants, I talk to animals, I talk to my house before I leave, and when I come back, I'll say goodbye, house.
Yes.
Please, stand strong while I'm away, protect, and I'll be when I'm rare. I'm home. I'm home, house. I haven't given her a name yet, but I'm home. And thank you so much, and I can feel the love when I step back into the home. You know. So yes, everything. I have a friend who was very much connected with mechanical things. He named his cars and had a really strong energy that if something was not going right, all he had to do was talk to the car, and the car would pretty much, they would connect and cooperate. Okay. So, yeah, it all, everything has consciousness. You can speak to a baby at birth or within a few hours. I mean, that newborn. You can consciously look into its eyes and say, I see you, the soul. I see the soul in you. And watch what that baby does. Okay. Or I recognize you as a soul. Something to that effect. And it's amazing the responses that you get. It's consciousness to consciousness. Okay. So, what we have been taught about will, what we're learning here is about will. Okay. We're learning that we cannot use our will for separative purposes. We cannot use our will. I mean, we are trained, let's put it that way. We're trained to use our will to create anything we want in our lives without questioning whether or not it's something that is for our soul. It is something, is it Is this an alignment with the divine or my divine plan? Is it in alignment with? That way, that kind of question means that we're not creating simply in and for ourselves, but we are creating connected to the divine to create something higher. Okay? Not just for the separated self, something more. That's what's important. And when we don't do that, we learn through the error of our ways. We've not been taught this in school. Definitely, we're not really taught this in church. At least the churches I've known up until this point. I think going forward, things will be changing as we expand into the understanding of bridging of religions into a whole, a coherent whole. So the energy of God manifests through the creative faculty. Why? The energy of God manifests in humanity through the creative faculty because humanity, is the creative arm of the divine. It's the creative arm of the planetary logos. Humanity is. We are the brain cells as well of the planetary logos, humanity. So that aspect of our ability to create again, the aspect of the one into the many, okay? The one into the many, that aspect of our ability to create allows that energy to flow into the many because we are vehicles of the one. Remember, we're the ones who carry that divine spark. We don't carry it for no reason at all. It's purposeful. We are human beings, or spirits rather, having a human experience rather than humans having a spiritual experience. Okay? And we said previously in some of the earlier lessons that when spirit, the divine will, divine will, impresses matter, matter gets excited and starts doing things. Otherwise, it does nothing. It just lays there. Okay? Matter has two properties. It can be inert, meaning just laying there quietly, still, not active, and it can be creative, perfectly creating that which will is impressing upon it, the idea that will is impressing upon it. So will is creative, will creates. Humanity is that creative faculty because it's what we create with the energy that we're given. Our small will is a mirror or a model of the divine will. And we are being taught how to use it. We've been given the gift of creativity, just as the divine has. So when will is impressed upon matter, matter creates whatever will has been impressing upon it, and it does it perfectly. So if there's any level of imperfection in that impression, it will manifest. Okay? And I'm saying that from the standpoint of humanity, what it is we seek to create. Okay? How many of us have sought to create something? And we picture it in our minds, but we realize that the end model for some reason is not exactly what it is we thought it would be, okay? There was something in the prototype that was missing an ingredient such that what manifested, we begin to know what was lacking, okay? Which gives us the opportunity to go back to the drawing board and fix that. This happens all the time. It's only when we have pictured that something in our mind and ruminated on it for a long period of time and looked at it from many different angles and discerned the needs that were necessary, the ingredients, let's put it that way, the ingredients needed in order for that end result to happen. And we always start, it's said, from the end to the beginning. We start with the end, the image, final image. What is it we really want? And then we allow that to unravel the road to what's needed to get to that. Imagine a funnel, okay? And then it tapers to a bottleneck, so to speak, thinner bottleneck. And then it expands back out again. So it's a funnel, two funnels, really, two funnels with the narrower portion connected. That's really what it is. Okay? And you could imagine that then you could call that top part of that funnel the overshadowing spiritual reality. Okay? And you could, that narrow neck, bottleneck, you could call it the focused will. And then the other part could be the manifestation, that which was actually created. Okay? So it's the overshadowing reality, which is saying that there's something higher than our will that we're dealing with when we seek to create anything. Okay? It's the higher level, higher octave that we're working with before we bring it down into our focused will. So that the energies of the divine is flowing through that aperture of focused will to create what it is that we're seeking to create. That is when we know we're in alignment. We're not creating simply for our own needs, our own separated self, needs of the separated self. So divine purpose impresses upon all planetary will energy, again by the solar life, and it is a law controlling all will from beginning to end. Okay? Which means, yes, that no matter what we think how we think we're using our will, what we think we're using our will for, where we think we want to go with it, we have to always remember that even though we think it is our will, it is never simply ours. It is truly divine will, first and foremost. Okay? That's the important thing. And treat it as such, respect it as such, acknowledge it as such. And then we begin to work with it with a totally different energy. It's not superficial. It's not thoughtless. It's with consciousness. That's a big, big thing, you know? So, so we have the right as humanity to use our will for good, bad, loss, gain, pleasure, pain. But no matter how we use it, we cannot avoid the effects of doing so. Okay? The effects will always manifest. Not using will correctly will always result in some level of retribution. It's just, it's just, it's just a part of the mix. Okay? It's wrapped into the ingredients. We recognize, all of us recognize, I mean, we were born with this usually in most cases, I know I was, and most of us, especially in our age group, we were born with the golden rule. We were born with, that do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We were born with being kind to others, respecting others. We were born with all of that. Although a lot of that seems to have gone out of the window right now. Um, Again, that indicates that this aspect of love and wisdom is a is part and parcel of the energy of this planet. We cannot escape it. We know that if we don't live right, something is going to happen. We know that. So we as humanity may not always embody divine purpose because we may not understand divine purpose fully. But nevertheless, we have a very strong sense that divine purpose manifests in life. Okay? How many times do we hear someone saying, um, especially grandmothers, and we're good for this. If it's God's will, if it's God's will, um, we know all of these things that we know that there's an inherent deep plan in life that manifests and touches everyone according to the way they live. Okay? It's in the framework of our life and affairs. It cannot be escaped. And quite often it is through because we seem to learn only through suffering. It comes through that aspect of retribution. But it doesn't have to. Okay? When we are conscious, what happens is we no longer we begin to grow and understand things because our awareness is growing. Okay? We begin to use awareness. We are no longer floating in the sea, in the ocean of experience, where nothing is connected to anything else. Okay? We get to that point where we realize, that we have to cooperate, we have to use our awareness. Awareness comes from the result of growth and knowledge about ourselves and about those around us. We begin to realize that we are a threefold in nature. We have a mental body, we have an emotional or astral body, we have a physical and a physical etheric body. Okay. So those three are the reins of our persona. Okay. If we can hold those three reins in our hand, meaning our consciousness is in control, full control. We can hold those three reins in our hands so that the mental body, the astral body, and the physical etheric body are all connected and moving in the same direction. That's what we call mastery. I've said this before. That's mastery. That is the chariot in the tarot, in the major arcana. That's the chariot. That's what that stands for, mastery of the three lower bodies, mental, emotional, physical. We, as a consciousness, can focus on any one of these levels. So, one of the questions we often ask, especially in beginning classes, for those who are serious about study, is where do you hang out? Take a moment and close your eyes. And we've done this before early in these lessons. And find out, where do you hang out? Where is your center? Where are you in your body? Are you in your, where are you? Or where do you feel your consciousness the most? Is it in your solar plexus? Is it in your abdomen, solar plexus? Is it in your heart or your throat? Is it in your head? Where do you hang out? Where do you find yourself? It's a very important question. Okay. We can function on any of these levels. And we have a tendency to hang out in one particular place for a period of time. And when we recognize it, then we begin to, how do you say it? Regroom or reform, replan, refocus our awareness to begin to hang out in a different place. Okay. And for the aspect of mental polarization, as I said, that ajna center is the key. Okay. But you can have people. I know someone who lives in a third world country, and through talking to this person, I realized that they are very much focused on within the physical. Their focus is about survival, material things, of course, money, basics, food. Okay, that's a person who's very much focused within the physical body, and try as one might to shift them into a higher level until that level has been fleshed out, fed, handled, no longer is an issue. You can't, it's very hard to communicate, I find, with them. Imagination doesn't seem to be there. The aspect of dreaming is not as prevalent. Imagination and I'm really quite surprised at that. They're very grounded, here and now, black and white. Um, then you'll find that person who is involved and focused within their emotional body. Okay? And that person is It could be anyone really. Someone who maybe have lost a parent early in life and hasn't really been taught a lot. They haven't been given love. They don't know what love is really because they have not had that nurturing um, necessarily, you know. So they may get angry. They might have emotional ups and downs, very erratic. Um, this is the kind of thing. That's the person who lives on an emotional level. And then, and there are many of them as we can look out in the political arena, we can look out in many different arenas right now and see these people. Um, and then we have that person who has been through the hard knocks, so to speak, and has asked some deep questions and has realized some essential aspects of themselves. Okay. I remember once many years ago, I began to see that a lot of what I was experiencing within a group and within the group were things that were happening on emotional levels. This was a spiritual group. Things that were happening on an emotional level, astral level. And once I kind of got that snapshot, I said, okay. That's there's like they're going around on this merry-go-round, so to speak, simply on an emotional level without any awareness that they can rise above that into a completely different frequency and not be tethered and at the control of their emotions. That was an outstanding moment when I realized that. Okay, it made a big difference in my life. So the person who lives in the mind endeavors to live according to reason. Reason tells them that they must integrate the three aspects of their nature, mental, astral, physical, into one working unit before he can hope to find peace of mind or happiness. Reason tells them that his problems are the problems of humanity. Now, that is so key. That is so key. Again, that moves us away from that aspect of separated self into the realization that every issue, problem, experience that we have is not happening simply to us. It is truly a problem that happens to many within humanity. It's a humanity issue. And how we go about resolving that issue, first of all, realizing that it's just not me, it's we. How we go about resolving it has the ability to inform through osmosis, through the mental and emotional group field within which we live. People will pick up that level of resolve. And they think it's their own idea. Think they're thinking it on their own, but it's something that's gone out from your mind into the group mind, and all of those who have also been able to realize how to handle something, it goes out from them as well. and different people will pick up different ideas. So it tells him that his problems are the problems of humanity and can only be solved via service to the best interest of humanity. When we realize that we're not here in and of ourselves, we're not alone, but that we are a group, we are a brotherhood, we are a sisterhood, we are a fraternity, we are a family of man, then we realize that even though it might feel like we are alone, we are working in harmony and together for the benefit of others. That's the aspect of service to the best interest of humanity. Thus, he becomes conscious on a much broader scale of awareness than heretofore, and he expands his sphere of influence accordingly. So, when we begin to gain that mastery over this threefold aspect of ourselves, it automatically means that that awareness of the overshadowing reality, the physical reality, and our will are part of one continuum. Mhm. And you guys have seen the symbol of the Taurus, Taurus. Have you seen the symbol of the Taurus?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. That's all of a sudden the picture that I really see happening as I'm talking about that. Only from the mind is it possible to direct one's life and affairs according to a predetermined plan. Yes, only from the mind. So how do we get there? How do we begin to retrain ourselves so that we can become totally mentally polarized rather than emotionally polarized? Okay, where we begin to hang out here in the Ajna Center rather than here or here. Here is good, but also must always be here. Okay? The question is, what is it that distracts a man or woman from mental polarization? And the answer is our emotions. Okay? Our emotional nature. Once we begin to take up residence here in the Ajna Center, then the Ajna center is that place of the observer. You know, we can observe what's happening in the lower chakras, but we are no longer at effect by it. We can see what's going on outside of us. But we are not attached to the emotional rifts that are occurring. That Ajna center is a very powerful place. It's a place of neutrality. It observes without necessarily saying good, bad, right, wrong. It observes. Okay? It sees it. It knows it. It recognizes it. But it gives us the chance to pause without emotion and decide how we want to act or react, what it is we want to say, and how, if at all, and when. Living in the Ajna Center gives us greater power within our environment. greater control over our emotional body. Um, the tongue is not as liable to flap, okay, when we live through the ajna center. Yeah, this happens all the time, you know. I had it happen to me today. I must admit, I'm still learning myself. Um, as I said, I was coming down with something as of Friday. I went to a restaurant and came back with something. And when I checked in to find out what it was, once I realized, oh, there's something there, it felt like it was more so a cold than COVID energy. So I used all of my remedies and things like that. The problem was that I had not been able to give myself the rest that I needed. As was preparing the house and doing all that I needed to do to invite someone, a relative who would be staying with me. It was the first time I had met them face to face, or second time I'd met them face to face, but the first time in my home. There was a lot to be done. It gave me the opportunity, my housemate and I, an opportunity to organize some things that we hadn't. And it came right at a particular period of time when other things were happening also. So there was a lot to do, and I was tired. My body was not getting the rest that it needed, and I got sick. So, well, she and I, my cousin and I, were invited up to one of my best friends. She has a home in the Poconos. We stayed there for overnight and had a great time. My friend and I work very well together. We just support each other. It's like yin and yang. We know when to and when not to, if to. We don't have to talk about things a lot. She has two dogs. I know how to take up the slack when I know she needs it and handle and feed them and walk them when they need to be walked, the whole 9 yards. We're like family. After such a beautiful weekend, absolutely pristine weather, we came home. She's driving, she rented a car, driving back. She lives in Alaska. So this is one of many trips along the way of her trip. And we were on our way back home, got home, and she leaves the car running while I'm taking out bags upon bags upon bags upon bags. There's just a lot of stuff that I was carrying home, and my body was tired. So, in any case, it really was odd. It was an odd experience, especially after being with my friend up in the Poconos, because, like I said, we you know, left foot and right foot, we know. And to see my cousin um, text was important, texting rather than assisting, I thought that was a little bit odd. It felt a little cold and neglectful and made me feel like, it wasn't important. So I had a choice as to how I to handle that. An old me would have said absolutely nothing, but would have felt it in my being for a while. And this particular moment, felt that something needed to be said. because it kind of changed the whole frequency of the energies that we had just been experiencing the entire weekend, from a high octave to something that was just didn't fit. So I made mention of the fact that I felt insulted by her lack. Oh, the question she asked was, do you need any help? Now, we all know what it took to pack up, um, for both of us. So I thought that was an interesting question, and I don't think I responded. I just went ahead and did what I needed to do, got everything out. But at the very end, I turned and said, I told her what I felt, experienced, and once I had put it out there, I took a moment by myself to think on everything that I'd done or said, and the fact that I'd even spoken up about it, and the manner in which I spoke up about it. And I said, okay, now again, we just came from a very high, we just experienced over these 5 days a very high period of time. Now we can either let it drop or we can keep it at that same level. Okay. And I thought about things, and then before she left, I said, I need to say something to you. And I took the whole experience from many different perspectives because I was able to kind of turn it around and look at it from many different viewpoints in a matter of a few moments. And I let her know, I said, now I know I could have handled this in a totally different way. I could have, this to me is the part that we're talking about here in this lesson. Okay. I could have waited until I was calm and said something to you, maybe tomorrow, at breakfast or something. I said, and I realized that it was a long drive, about an hour and a half plus traffic. Um, And she overread. She too had an appointment immediately afterward. She didn't give herself much time. There was no bordering. Everything was just thrown right on top of each other. And I gave her all the different the awareness of different ideas, and the fact that I said it's really interesting because this lesson speaks directly to the lesson that I'll be teaching today, about emotional and mental polarization. Okay. And feeling neglected, it was the emotion that came through. And the emotion comes through as for me, and the emotion comes through when I get like that, as how do I say it? As it comes through me trying to hold back tears because it bothers me that I even have to say something like that to someone. Okay. So I have a tendency to, it's really tears that want to flow, to release, and but at the same time, I think it's important not to get stuck in that and say what needs to be said. Okay. So I shared all of that with her, and I saw how it completely changed her energy. It changed her face. She saw the lesson. She began to understand it, at least my part of the lesson. Now I'm sure she'll take time to look at her own aspect of it. And she apologized, and she said she understood, and um it shifted everything so that it turned into a flower. It wasn't just an ugly situation. And I had another situation that happened to me earlier this week. Again, still, this weekend was about meeting family that I haven't seen in decades because I was missing in action in my spiritual world. And one of my aunts, there's a particular recipe of bread pudding that has been passed down from the grandmother to everybody, all, those of it, and everyone knows this recipe. It's like the Jackson family thing. And I said, what could I give? I knew I was going. I said, what could I take? What could I give to them? I said, if I bake a bread pudding, they'll see that the line, the lineage, the history is being passed through to the younger generations. And I spent time doing it, got there late as a result of it, which made one of my aunts very angry. She didn't understand why we were late. She expected us at a certain time. So the next morning, we went to see her, planned on seeing her at a certain time. And a whole nother thing began to transpire where we realized that these two aunts that we have, the last two of the generation of 13, 14 kids, and one uncle who's 91, one aunt, they're 84, and the other one, 81. These are the last three children of my mom's line. And we thought maybe if we put everybody on Zoom in a lot of different places, we could all be together in a way that we've never been together before. They haven't seen, some haven't seen me at all. And, so bread pudding, reason for late and the delay. One of my aunts wasn't having any level of excuse at all, and we found out that she's beginning to suffer from dementia, which we didn't know. So we went to visit her that morning and to apologize for being late and to let her know that why we were late. And well, she came down like a tornado from upstairs. I was the first one there. My other cousin decided to, smart, very smart, stayed in the back. And I knew there's an aspect of maybe dementia or something going on. I wasn't sure exactly what it was or why. I mean, I've seen it. Um, Something like that when after my father had a stroke where anger would come up out of nowhere. Well, bottom line, this aunt that I had not seen in decades since my mom was alive and my mom passed away in early 2000s, raised her left hand and slapped me in my face. And I was a choice as to how to handle it. So I leaned in, realizing that she was really angry. Just take it. I felt an energy of protection come across from the left to the right. It was really interesting how that was an energetic something that moved just before the slap came. And I just simply bowed my head and apologized to her. And then she walked us to her door, and the dementia speaking through her opened the door and said, now, out of my house, with a few little other words, spicy words in between. We, instead of walking out, we walked out and sat on the staircase, both of us, and just sent positive energy into the house and didn't really talk about it at all. Just little quips here, maybe a laugh here or, and then processing. Most of it was processing. And both of those experiences, I realized that, especially the one with the slap, it was definitely a situation where I knew I was more so coming from here, that Ajna Center. I wasn't holding anything against her. I respected her age, what she's been through, much of which I have know not. And whatever brought her to that moment, hopefully the love that she experienced from me, even in spite of it, would help her to realize something more positive. That was my goal, you know? And so in both of those situations, they were both very emotional situations that had to be handled. Um, and hopefully we'll find out down the road if they've been handled well. I'm sure the first one was handled well. The second one, there might be more discussion needed, who's to say. So What is the remedy for us to be able to not have to vacillate so much between the emotional body and the mental body? What is the remedy for that? How do we do that? We have to learn how to respond mentally rather than emotionally. And we do this by shifting or planting a new seed thought in our mind, a new idea in our mind, okay? If we want to learn to love or will to love, okay, that's the step to right relations. If we want to will to love, then we have to begin to go inside our, our mind, our emotional body as well, and plant a new response into scenarios, which means it requires us to be vigilant, to be able to notice what our triggers are. What is causing us to feel a particular way and why? First of all, notice that we're reacting. Many times we don't even notice that, okay? What are we reacting to and why? And is that reaction really necessary? In that, we want to be able to now move from that emotional polarization into a mental polarization. In lesson 32, we mentioned that you must truly want to love your neighbor in order to do so. So we have to quicken our desired nature. And this, they give us 3 steps, a 3-step process in order to do that. How to shift in 3 steps are into a mental focus. Number 1, and a process, a part of this process, there's a new name that I've discovered recently called quantum jumping. Okay? This is the aspect of knowing what it is you want to be or do or how you want to act in the future. Really being focused on shifting energy within you. And for the long term, by the way, not for the short term, shifting energy so that you now become and manifest a whole nother level of behavior. And it's not because you are faking it. It's because it's real. It's real for you. It's where you know you should be. Okay? So this is how the various steps, the 3 steps, formulate our intent to love our neighbor, first and foremost. We formulate the intent into a seed thought that can be used in meditation or referred to as a magical formula in times of need. And this one is very easy. I, the soul, love, understand, and serve. I, the soul, love, understand, and serve. Very simple. I, the soul, love, understand, and serve. Hold that focus of intent in the mind at all times. Begin in the morning with it as a seed thought for meditation and refer to it throughout the day, several times a day. I, the soul, love, understand, and serve. And then take into your mind an instance or a pattern of behavior that you exhibit, maybe with a particular person or something that really just has a tendency to get in your craw, okay? And create a picture that does the exact opposite of how you normally react, okay? Instead of reacting the way you normally do, see yourself being loving, see yourself listening, see yourself saying just the right thing in the moment that's needed. See yourself understanding. See yourself giving grace in that moment to whomever it is or whatever the situation is. Okay? And it's like role play in a way. You're role playing this new behavior in your mind. And then once you can role play that in your mind, pass it from the mental, the ajna, into the emotions. And the emotional body is this area. I mean, the emotional body is really quite wide. It surrounds the physical body, sometimes by 3 to 4 feet, depends. But it's all in this area, okay? And I see it moving from the emotion, from the mental body straight in. That's that well impressed thought and feeling of how best you can handle a particular situation, moving it into your emotional body and then moving it into your physical body. Okay? And it's extremely good to do that same exercise just before going to bed, because then it's planted in the subconscious mind and it's there when you awaken. So, when faced with a negative impact or a negative emotion, we try to, because we're seasoned now at knowing what's coming by now, we know what's coming when it's coming, right? We don't have to really wait. Sometimes we might be caught off guard, but many of these are we've been living with for most of our lives. We know what has a tendency to create a reaction on us or a trigger. So observe, shift the emotion, know what you usually do, shift the emotion to something more positive, more loving, more caring. And when you feel a behavior getting ready to surface, then instead reposition. Know that you don't have to go there. Okay? This is not like, when the doctor hits your knee with that little rubber thing. You don't have to, we do not have to react in the same exact way. Okay. Hopefully, at the end of this session, which is coming up shortly, you will know and you will have something that you can actually utilize to shift energies. Practice this. And the goal is to be able to transmute your own reactions. That's the goal, okay? To shift it into transmute means you take something and you shift it into something positive, something light bearing, okay? And it's also good when you're imagining the new action or the new reaction, new behavior, that you bring it down into all of your senses. Okay? What would you think if the ideal energies were present? Okay? If you were really connecting in a Christed way, okay? Meaning that perfected man, what would you say? What would you think first? How would you feel? What would you say? That's the physical. What would you sense as a result of this change? It's using almost this sense of smell, or you're just a higher octave of that sense of smell. And what would be the effects? That way you're synthesizing this new idea and new behavior into all aspects of your being through the senses. Okay? That's how we know we get to the A to Z of it, so to speak. Okay? In this manner, your will can be trained. The response mechanism can be trained. And lastly, another way to shift into mental polarization is to learn to look at all sides of a situation that's happening, not just your side. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. See what it is they're experiencing and feeling. Or another group's shoes, or whatever, Think before feeling. That's a mental exercise. Think before feeling. Most of us lead with our emotions. We emote first, then we think afterwards. Okay? But we can do the opposite. We can pause. Oop, I'm beginning to feel a little bit of a reaction here. Okay. Where am I feeling that reaction? One of my teachers would have us look at that. Where's the reaction? Where do you feel it in your body? Okay. Is it in the heart? Is it in the throat? Where are you feeling it? Is it in the solar plexus? Where is it? Where it is can tell you so much about it. So lead from the head with thought. Then feel what you consciously choose to feel. Big difference, right? Big, big difference. But do we consciously choose to feel? We're inserting another concept, another action, another feeling, another way of behaving. And that is an aspect of quantum jumping, where you actually think about what it is you want to be, who you want to be within the next year or 5 months or whatever. And think about all the aspects of what that person, that the details of that, you know, in all of its creativity, all of the details. And then put yourself in that. You do that in your imagination. Insert yourself into that picture and feel it. Feel it. Feel what it feels like when you are that complete person, that which is complete to you from this vantage point, because it will always change. Feel it, know it, and then you don't leave it. You actually place your consciousness in that so that you become that. And then you work to stay there. That's what they call quantum jumping. I've never heard that one before. It's a nice idea. I like it. I think it feels like it works. I can feel it. It reminds me of what we used to do when we would do vision boards. You know, you find all of the things that you put it up on a board, want to be, want to have, want to do, put it up on a board, um, and watch it. Put it in a place where you're seeing it every day for the next 3 months. And guess what? 5 months down the road or less, you find yourself right there. Right there. It's amazing. And create a hobby or find a hobby which taps the conscious mind more than it does the emotions. There's a game, guys, by the name of the transformation game. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but it's a game for spiritual growth. It's a spiritual game. It's created by the Findhorn community out of Scotland. And I think this particular game feels when, especially when they were talking about finding a hobby that puts you in that frame of mind, or it puts you in that different place that you're seeking to move into. Transformation game would be a wonderful way to do that. They run about, you can get them, I think you can get them online. Of course, Amazon has everything. Um, but you can find it in other places as well. And I think they run about 40, $45, $50 max. I think that $50 would be a little high, but something you might, and it's something that has to be played in a group of people, not by yourself. Okay, you might find it really, it's supposed to assist people in all levels, whether you're depressed with depression, you're trying to work out a particular issue that keeps bugging you. Um, you want to move to another level. It's many different ways that this particular game helps us process and move and shift. So we want to read with the mind rather than our emotions. We want to speak with our mind, with the mind, through the mind rather than through the emotions. And we want to act with the mind rather than the emotions. Okay? And with that, we will find ourselves through daily practice in a short time in a totally different place. Concerted effort. And with that, I'd like to end with meditation on this particular same topic that we are working with. Okay. So if everybody would go into meditation for a moment, this won't take long, but I just want us to relax into it and get the benefit of it all. This is about becoming mentally polarized. Take a deep breath, and as you release it, become physically relaxed and comfortable. Take another deep breath. And as you release it, become emotionally calm and serene. Take a third deep breath. And as you release it, become mentally poised and alert. And focus your consciousness in the ajna center, 3 to 6 inches beyond the brow, the center of the brow, beyond the forehead. And taking as much time as you need, integrate your threefold persona through the use of the breath into the ajna center. Staying within the ajna center, take a deep breath. And mentally draw any aspects of the mental body into the ajna center. Take another deep breath, and the same, this time with the astral body. Allow that ajna center to become causal to the astral body and magnetically attract the astral body up into the ajna center. Take a third deep breath. Drawing any residual aspects of the physical etheric, allowing the ajna to become so magnetically causal it attracts physical etheric body into the ajna center. So we integrate our threefold persona, body, emotions, and mind, into a unit, a single unit, in aspiration to the overshadowing spiritual soul. And still within the ajna center, looking up and out in no particular direction whatsoever. You simply are seeking to connect and merge with the energy of the soul, the spiritual soul. And as you do so, sound a silent Om and allow your consciousness to move from the ajna center along a pathway of light that connects the ajna center to the center of the head, where you see a small golden sun in the center of the head. There you integrate the threefold soul, your animal soul, simply through the direction of your thought. It's not necessary to understand it, because the higher aspects of you do. Your human soul and your spiritual soul, integrate these into a single unit in aspiration to divine love, or the energy of the Christ. or soul. Now, as the integrated soul in the center of the head, aspire to love your neighbor. Aspire to love your neighbors. Mm. Mm. Think about a time when your reaction, your sense of a situation was less than positive, where your automatic reaction was the opposite of love live in and of itself. And holding that experience in your mind's eye, raise your aspiration to love to the highest of its heights. Raise the aspiration to love to the highest level that you can possibly raise it to. Feel the energies of love beginning to expand and overshadow and dissolve all sense of opposition. When that aspiration to love reaches its zenith, audibly sound the seed thought: I, the soul, love, understand, and serve. Follow the flow or the sound, the silent sound of that seed thought. Follow the silent sound of that seed thought for about 2 minutes while you stay in that bright golden sun in the center of the head. And now audibly sound the Om. Om. Formulate a planned activity that expresses your focused intent to love. And you do this by building an image in your mind, an image really of all within you, all of your senses, of your ideal response to this particular or that particular situation, which you were holding in your awareness that needed changing. Using the senses to synthesize this new experience into every aspect of your being: mental, astral, emotional, physical. All of your senses touch in their higher octaves. And infuse them with that focused will to love. Just bring it straight through all of your senses. What is your new thought? What is the new feeling? How does it manifest in your world? How are others reacting to it? How? What do you say? What do you say? Okay. Standing in the place of the soul, as soul, connected to the one life source. Bringing that energy with you. Gradually relax the attention and return to normal focus. I thank everyone for your time, your energy. I'm going to leave you to jot anything down that you may have experienced in the meditation, any ideas that came to you, any awarenesses that came to you, feelings, whatever. Take the time to hold on to it and write it in your journal if you have one, or on a piece of paper. I would suggest journal. That was long time recommended back. And I thank everyone for your time, your energy, your beauty. Remember that we are dealing with that aspect of the focused will to love. Okay? And what that really means. the power of God may be invoked into manifestation via the focused will to love. Allow that seed thought to percolate in your consciousness, in your awareness, in your meditation time. Okay? And I look forward to seeing you again next month. And have a good month until we meet again. Take good care, everybody. Bye-bye.